Welcome to the tutorial of an AFL drop punt kick. The AFL drop punt can either be classified one-dimensionally or two-dimensionally. From a one-dimensional perspective, it involves mainly gross muscles as it requires large musculature such as the quadriceps to perform the skill. It is a discrete skill as it has a specific start and ending point on completion of the kick, and it is an open skill in a match due to external variables such as opposition which can affect the skill. In the two-dimensional model, this skill is classified as a four-dimensional skill according to Gentile's taxonomy, being regarded as the most difficult skill to perform. The skill has regulatory conditions present, the body is in motion, object manipulation occurs, and intertrial variability is present. The key aspects of the skill include the grip, approach, ball drop, ball contact, and follow-through. Transfer of learning is the influence of previous experiences when completing or performing a new skill. It can be broken down into two sections. Positive transfer is where a previous experience will enhance a performance. So if a attacker's player has been brought up kicking under pressure from an opposition, then as he gets older, his kicks will be more efficient as he's used to pressure from an opposition player. And there is negative transfer, where a previous experience will undermine a performance. Modeling is using a demonstration that teaches information on how to perform or complete a skill. Verbal instructions are also used to teach a skill, as they are very important. It is important that verbal cues are concise, accurate, and brief. They must also draw attention to the correct information regarding the skill and must focus on key elements of the skill. Common verbal cues used in AFL for kicking are guide the ball, point your toes, head over the ball, kick through the footy, and kicking is king. To correctly grip the ball, you want to spread your fingers evenly along the side of the ball with your thumbs extending to the laces. With the approach, you want to face the target with the ball held in front of the thigh of the kicking leg. And you want to step with your opposite leg, which acts as a balancing leg. With the ball drop, you want to guide the ball down to your foot with the same hand as your preferred kicking leg. Then you want to bend your leg and kick with the bottom point of the ball hitting the lower laces of your foot. With the ball contact, you want to point your toes towards the target with a strong lever, so your kicking leg, and you want to watch the ball hit your foot. This is a very important step. With the follow through, you want to follow straight through to the target or person that you're kicking towards to, landing on the kicking foot. The ball should spin backwards, end over end. And if you followed these 5 key aspects of the AFL drop punt, you should be able to successfully kick the ball.
Qualitative measure is a subjective measure where the execution of the drop punt skill is looked at. The subject will be assessed over 5 kicks to get a wider range of results. The participant will be scored from 1 to 5 for each of the key aspects: control of the ball throughout the entire execution of the skill, head and body position, ball contact and follow through, and fluency of action. Quantitative measure is a performance-based measure of the drop punt kick. The test we will be performing is a 15-meter accuracy kick with a participant standing within a 3-meter target. This is sport-specific as a 15-meter kick is the shortest allowed in the sport of AFL. The participant has 20 kicks where they will try and hit a receiver standing in the 3-meter target. A score of 5 will be given if the participant can hit the receiver without him moving, 3 for landing the ball in the 3-meter target but the receiver had to move, and 0 for the ball being kicked out of the 3-meter target.
Distribution of practice is when variability and other skills are incorporated in a drill to help with the skill development and the retention of that skill, whilst incorporating and developing other skills in the sport. We added distribution of practice by using opposite feet, verbal cues, and for specific actions wanted by the coach. PANEC 2013 shows that the distribution of practice helps with sensory retention and autonomous movement patterns that are needed in the development and retention of a skill.
The program was based off FIT's 3 stages of learning. The first stage is the cognitive stage where observation, verbal and sensory feedback are given. The participant also observes others performing the skill and the participant understands the nature of the skill. Numerous errors also occur whilst the participant is performing the skill. The second stage is the associative stage. This is where the participant begins to understand the various key aspects of the skill and how they interrelate to execute the skill. The participant also begins to modify and adapt their movement patterns as the skill demands. The final stage is the autonomous stage. This is where the participant's movement patterns within the skill become automatic. Attention can be directed to other aspects of performance, and the ability to perform this skill becomes consistent. Augmented feedback was incorporated in the 6-week training program as it gives feedback about performance from an external source. This is given either during or after the performance. It can be given through 2 ways: knowledge of results, which is the outcome of the action, or knowledge of performance, the actual movement patterns of the skill. Augmented feedback is important as it is a great source of motivation and informs the participant of the outcome adjustments that can be made immediately. It also gives additional information to the participant that they would not normally receive, and this is helpful with the efficiency of learning. Guidance hypothesis looks at the frequency of augmented feedback and the effect it has on the participant. Winston 1994 shows that augmented feedback 100% of the time, although increases the rate of learning, the participant becomes dependent on it and affects their retention test later on. They showed that it lowered the participants' ability of processing intrinsic feedback and they affected their own judgment. Therefore, in our 6-week training program, we decided that augmented feedback should be used only 50% of the time, as this was shown by Winston to be the most effective way to increase the efficiency of learning whilst also helping with retention scores.
Retention tests are conducted 4 weeks post-training, include no coaching of verbal cues. They allow the coach to test for the indication of learning or if the training program has simply been temporary effects. This is due to the fact that learning cannot be directly tested, and therefore the retention test will be used to indicate the learning. The test is compared to the pre and post testing conducted throughout the sessions. Transfer tests are used to test the adaptability of an acquired skill during the acquisition phase. They're used with the addition of a variable. In this case, there was a player on the mark, and indicates the transfer of the skill learned to different situations. Part and whole practice refers to the complexity and the organisation level of the skill. So part practice was used in the first few weeks of the program, breaking down the skill into different segments and making it easier for the players to get a hold of kicking action. Although players quickly moved on to whole practice as this encourages the fluidity of the skill. With regards to the drop punt, the skill was broken down into the grip, the drop and the follow through, all practiced individually, however quickly moved on to the full action. Motivation is aided using regulatory and non-regulatory conditions. This also increases the variety of practice, with intrinsic and extrinsic feedback both playing a major part in the motivation of the players, from the coaches and from internal regulators. Examples of extrinsic motivators include punishment and reward, such as small-sided games or doing push-ups as a punishment for not completing a task. Pre and post testing will help to determine learning and enhance learning. SMART goals will aim to increase the amount of learning and memory during the program, while verbal cues will also maintain attention and increase the memory of the players.